Issues important to your life and faith, spiritual insight, practical wisdom. Join us as we transform the world one woman at a time. Women of Grace, for such a time as this. Now, here's your host, Johnnette Williams.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women of Grace. I am so happy to be with you. As you know, we are live right here for you Monday through Friday, taking your questions or comments, your insights, inspirations, or words of encouragement. We want to hear from you today. We certainly do. It is Wednesday. Sue Brinkman is with us. It's a Wacky Wednesday here, so we have an opportunity to answer your questions about the weird and wacky stuff that you see happening in your midst. And oh my goodness, as I often tell you, we don't run out of topics to discuss on Wacky Wednesday. Again, let me give you some numbers so that you can call us. 833-288 EWTN is the number for you to use. If you are in North America, it's a toll-free number for you, and that's very exciting. So we do look forward to you giving us a call with your question or comment, insight, inspiration, or word of encouragement, or you can leave all that for us at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel. Just get on out there. You'll see the chat feature. That's where you put all that info, including who you are, where you're calling from, etc., things like that. So we do look forward to hearing from you. Both directions, yes, by phone or out there in social media land. You can also text your question to us. I invite you to text your question to us here. And the way that you do that is you text the letters EWTN to 58177. You wait for our response. You put in your question or comment. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and all that kind of good stuff. And, know that message and data rates may apply. So those are the main ways that you can reach us. But if you're outside of North America, of course, you can use that texting line. You certainly are welcome to do that. But we have a number for you. It is not toll-free, fortunately, but it's a number for you. Country code 1-205-271-2985. That's country code 1-205-271-2985. So please do get in touch with us today with your questions or your comments. Do like to remind you about Women of Grace and everything that's going on there. I'm getting very eager because in the not too distant future, we are going to be there at St. Bernard's Abbey in Coleman, Alabama, October the 14th through the 20th for our Benedicta Institute Fall Immersive. And what is the Benedicta Institute? Well, it is an outreach of Women of Grace. It is an educational arm of Women of Grace. We look forward to helping women to attain a certification in Catholic women's leadership, or to just come to the classes for spiritual enrichment because they are very enlightening, very engaging. You're there with other women who are like-minded. We are being taught by our academic advisor, Dr. Donald Feng, as I've been sharing with you. He's a PhD in both philosophy and theology. A very excellent instructor. I mean, he helps for us to understand concepts that we never thought we could understand. But he really takes us into, a depth of understanding about our faith and why we believe what it is that we believe. And it's going to be like that there at St. Coleman, in Coleman, Alabama, rather, at St. Bernard's Abbey. So I invite you to join us. Get out there and check it out. We've got all of the information for you right there on our website, womenofgrace.com. You're going to see it. It is listed number 1 in the upcoming events right there on the homepage. We do have financial aid available. Oftentimes women say, well, gee, can you help me out with this? Yes, we can. And so we have information about that there as well. But you're welcome to call us at our ministry. We have an 800 number. It's 800-558-5452. That's 800-558-5452. That's the toll-free telephone number for Women of Grace. It's not EWTN's number. It's our special number. So you can use that number. It's not the number that you use to call in with your questions or comments. It's a different one. But you can call and get your questions answered there if you cannot glean the information that you are looking for specifically via our website there. But the course is explained for you there. The Benedicta and the way in which it functions and operates is explained for you there. And we look forward to that. And I've got one other really big announcement that I'm quite excited about, really excited about. And that is that, we have numbers of women in countries outside of the United States of America that want to take our foundational study. And in fact, numbers of them have, thousands of them have taken our foundational study. It can be expensive, however, because, when you're shipping product from the United States to countries, depending upon where that country is located, and I mean, if it's outside of our borders, there's generally, a cost factor that's higher than if you are inside of the borders. We wanted to try to overcome that because we certainly didn't want shipping costs to be an obstacle to women being able to take the study. And so we have now put our studies online for you. When you go out to our website there, I want you to look over to the right-hand side. You'll see information right there, a little box that talks about our Benedicta Institute. Of course, you can click on that to get more information about the Benedicta. But right underneath that, you're going to see a button, and it says Purchase Studies and Videos on Demand. And you're going to click that. When you click that button, it takes you out there and you see that our foundational study is up there for you. We actually have a digital facilitator kit. We have the digital Full of Grace Women and the Abundant Life study guide. We have the digital book Full of Grace Women and the Abundant Life. And we have the digital facilitator guide Full of Grace Women and the Abundant Life. In addition to that, we have some other studies that are available for you there as well. We will be putting our Moments with Mary up there. We will be putting the Spanish up there. The Spanish is already in the process of being made into a digital feature like we have for the foundational study in English. So, I'm so excited about this because now this opens up opportunities for those who live outside of the country and makes it far more reasonable because the shipping costs can be avoided. It's all there. You can actually take notes inside of your study book. You can, or inside of the text, in any part of it, really. You can make notes. You can access your notes. You can print your notes out. It's really, really quite lovely. You can set the size of how big you want it to be on your screen. It's very, very versatile. And I think you'll be quite pleased with it. Of course, we have people that can help you with that at the ministry if you run into a little problem. But listen, I know how to do certain software programs, right? The ones that I use all the time, right? I can do Microsoft Word pretty well. I can do PowerPoint pretty well. I struggle with Excel, but I can manage to do that. So what I'm trying to say to you is I am not the sharpest knife in the drawer when it comes to technology. And I was able to make my way through this with ease. I had no problem. It's very intuitive. And when I say intuitive, I mean it's intuitive if you don't have a lot going on when it comes to technology. So anyway, just very lovely opportunity for you. So I'm very, very excited if you're listening to us and you're in England or you're in Ireland or you're, any place on the continent, over there in Europe, if you're down under, if you're on the Pacific Rim, if you are in Central and South America and you want to do it in English, it's there for you, but it's coming soon for you, very soon. It's coming very soon in Spanish. And we've been so pleased to see how so many women in the Spanish-speaking countries have taken our foundational study, and now it's going to be even more accessible. So I'm really excited about it. Will you hear that music? We're going to go to a break. When we come back, Sue Brinkman is here. It's a Wacky Wednesday. Get those questions coming in. 833-288-EWTN. Coming right back. Stay tuned.
On the next Beacon of Truth, it's a Word of God Wednesday as we dive into the respectful life on Sundays and Psalm 10.
I'm Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, and I invite you to join me for Beacon of Truth.
The EWTN radio listener comment line is open right now for you. If you've got a question or comment about what you hear on EWTN radio, we'd love to hear it. Call 205-795-5773. We'd also like to know how our programming has impacted your life or the life of someone you know. That number again, 205-795-5773. And thank you for listening to EWTN Radio.
Welcome to Catholic Blitz. Father Trujillo, you're on the hot seat. Are you ready?
Well, I am.
Okay. What happened to limbo? 1 minute.
Okay. Actually, what happened to limbo was it was never a dogma of the church that required an assent of faith. It was a proposition, hypothesis that the church maintained, especially we see in the Baltimore Catechism. We talk about limbo is how you explain what happens to people who die a virtuous life but were not baptized, because baptism is necessary for salvation. So we have a baptism of water, which is the sacrament. We have a baptism of blood, by which one dies for the Christian faith but have not yet been sacramentally baptized. And then there's a baptism of desire, where one would have wanted to be baptized had they known that Jesus Christ was truly the Messiah. And this is part of what we call the universal salvific will of God. It doesn't mean that, it suffices if someone has the knowledge, but it does work if you don't.
Great job. Till next time on Catholic Blitz.
You're listening to EWTN Radio.
You can rely on the Catholic News Agency to provide trustworthy and timely news from a Catholic perspective, including social, political, moral, and cultural issues. For the latest Catholic news, visit CatholicNewsAgency.com.
Well, welcome back, friends. You hear that music, and you know what that music means. It means it's Wednesday, yes? And when it is Wednesday right here on Women of Grace Live, it is Wacky Wednesday. And Sue Brinkman, who is our researcher for the New Age, for Women of Grace on our staff there, who gives us the New Age blog that's accessible for you at our website. You can just go to newage.womenofgrace.com and access it that way. It's also there for you. You can click right on the home page, and it'll take you there. You can research any kind of topic that you're interested in by putting it into the search engine that is particular to that particular blog. And it's just going to be a wonderful experience for you to check it out. Also, we have a library there, and in that library are the podcasts that Sue does on the New Age called Grace Under Fire, Exposing the Darkness. And these are short little, segments where she teaches us about a certain thing. They're not very long, I think 3 to 5 minutes or so. But it gives you, in a nutshell, it's a nutshell version of what you can read online. So if you're stimulated by that, you can then go into the blogs and you can find out even more information. So all kinds of good things available for you at our website, womenofgrace.com. And I'm always encouraging you to go out there. Do give us a call here, though, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. That's the way that you can join us here on Women of Grace Live, where we do love having that holy conversation with you. You can text your question or comment to us as well. Text EWTN, the letters EWTN, to 58177. That's 58177. Wait for our response. Put in your question or comment, insight, inspiration, or word of encouragement there. Try to keep it short because it is a text message after all. And do know that message rates and data rates may apply depending upon your plan. So all of that. Also, EWTN Radio's YouTube channel is available. You can use the chat feature there to put in your question or comment. All of those good things. Well, without further delay, let us welcome Sue. Good morning, Sue.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm very chipper today. I'm very chipper.
Okay.
Thank you for asking. It's a beautiful day here in Alabama. Woke up to a really dense fog, really, really dense where Jack and I live in. Oh, dear. But it has burnt off, as we would say in Florida. The sun has burned it off, and it's nice and bright and sunshiny and blue skies.
Oh, and I'm just so happy that you avoided the hurricane.
Oh, geez, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that
I
was
was watching
bad.
the news. Oh my! I was watching the news today, and I was watching the devastation in North Carolina. I mean, of course, in Florida, it is a mess. I have friends in Florida who, one friend, I was sharing yesterday, the day before, rather, 3 feet of water in her beach home. Individuals who, in their primary residence, filled with sand and filled with water. Destruction tremendous. But you look at those pictures of North Carolina, and my heart breaks. I was praying my rosary this morning, and the burden for them was so great and so intense. I was just offering all of those prayers for these dear people. And there was a mom on there, Sue, who watched her little boy be carried away down the river, and her little boy was crying out, "Jesus, I love you. Jesus, I love you."
Oh my gosh, that
And
is
I mean,
so sad.
oh my gosh, it's the kind of
Oh,
stuff that it almost hurts too much to view. So we, just thank you for mentioning it. And I just want to put a shout out to all of you listening. Please remember these people in your prayers. Please, please, please remember. So many of them are just absolutely cut off. They're secluded. Help can't even get to them. And I'm just not really sure how much help is getting there even now. I know Samaritan's Purse is doing a big job. I'm thinking Catholic Charities must be active. I don't know. I'm hoping so. I don't know where the rest of the help is. But all of that being said, oh my
it
goodness.
really is sad. It's a sad situation. They don't have water. They have not been able to flush their toilets some places for 4 days.
I know.
They don't have water.
Well,
I mean, when you think about it, what would you do if you just didn't have water?
I know. Well, in Pinellas County, Florida, which is where I lived for so many years, 40-some years, people were being told, don't drink the water, do not flush your toilets for 48 hours because it will just put sewage coming up into the water.
That's
so
right.
You can't do that. So I don't know where they are with all of that right now in Florida. I've checked in with some friends who are just fine, but the friends that I have, who have been really seriously impacted, I haven't heard from too many of them other than that they're alive and things are a mess. So, we come together as the people of God, and one of the great ways that we can do that is through prayer, because prayer is so powerful. Obviously we want to donate money if we can. If we live in the area, we can donate time if we're skilled. People that can lend their skill to situations like this. We can do those things, but we can all pray, and all of that has to be augmented by prayer anyway. So.
That's right. That's so true. And when something like that happens, this is the beautiful thing about our faith, I think, Johnnette. And what we have that our dear struggling people who do not have faith, they lack in their lives is that we're never alone when something this bad happens. We have each other.
That's right.
And we have our God. And that really gets you through things in a much different way than someone who doesn't have that. And for somebody like me who lived many years of my life without the Lord, I can tell you there's a huge difference between how you go through life with him and how you were going through life or ecking your way through life without him.
That's right.
And this is just a much more joyful, hopeful, positive way of life. I don't need a law of attraction. I got God.
That's right.
And I don't need to think nice things. I have nice things because God is with me.
That's right.
So anyway, yeah, it's we have each other, and like you said, we just got to pray for them, because help will come and they'll get through this, and maybe even come out better on the other side. So
and it's hard to imagine how that can be, but the fact of the matter is we do know that it's true. And you're
God
talking
does
about that faith in the Lord, and I'm thinking of that passage that I quote all the time here on the air, which is Romans 8:28. For God works good out of all things. He works all things to the good for those who are called according to his purposes. And there's no exclusion from all. And yes, sometimes these tragic moments, one of the things I think that it does is it calls attention to the fact that this life is a fleeting life. This life is not the end. This life is a fleeting life that begins eternity. And so sometimes it just puts into sharper focus our need for the Lord. And numbers of people, will come back to their faith as a result of these kinds of tragedies. And unfortunately, a lot of people will, just rail their fist at God, but instead of looking for the good that he wants to work out in them, increasing their faith, just like you're talking about. So, yeah. So anyway, we've got phone calls coming in already. 833-288 EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. That is the way that you can join us live here on Women of Grace Live. We're looking forward to hearing from you via phone always. I do believe that it is Matthew Gubensky who's out there on the phone lines. Michael McCall out there in social media. Michael McCall, will retrieve your question or comment from EWTN Radio's YouTube channel. Matthew of you, of course, will answer the phone, but both gentlemen will get your information up on the board so Sue and I can take it. So if you have a question about the weird and wacky today, please do call in because we want to talk with you. Claire, I'm going to ask you to hold for a moment because, Sue, we always have a little topic that we start off with. And what's our topic this week?
Well, one of the topics that I have here is someone wrote to us. She was an early childhood ed teacher, and she went to a presentation, like a workshop, where they were instructed to try to bring positive energy to their classroom by arranging furniture in certain ways and by using light and shadows. And in other words, Feng Shui is what
exactly what I was going to say. We know what that is.
And I thought to myself when I read this, I thought, why don't they just do reading, writing, and arithmetic? What else are they going to bring into the classroom that really has nothing to do with education? Now they're bringing in a Chinese superstition, which is what this is. Feng Shui is a very complex system. Actually, it's very complicated. Ancient practices, and they claim that, you can enhance your well-being by promoting this good flow of energy within a certain space by, having your bed turned a certain way, or where you place the stove. If you're having a house built, there's a place to build the stove, and it's correlation to the sink. And this all has a meaning, and it's all superstition. The whole thing is just nothing but superstition. And she says, should I be concerned about this being introduced at this workshop? I said, yes, you should. I mean, this is bringing superstition. It's like, why not? Okay, is it okay to hang rabbit's feet all over the classroom? That's what you're doing here with this. There's, first of all, the good flow of energy that's based on qi, which is a putative form of energy, which we all know doesn't exist. So you can throw that one right out the window right then and there. But believing that this positive flow is going to somehow bring good tidings to you is placing, giving power to this energy that it doesn't have. It doesn't have the power to do anything, to improve your health, to improve your luck. Like in some things that I read about Feng Shui, they're saying, positioning my bed this way is my lucky position. This is the way I need to have my bed.
Oh, dear heavens.
For good luck. I know. I mean, that's all this really is. And the fact that they're introducing it into classrooms and the teachers think that this is important. And I'm not saying teachers in general. I know a lot of very good teachers who are very upset about what's going on in their schools. But the fact that someone holding a workshop for teachers would think that this is an important thing to do in their classroom, rather than having their children be better educated in the sciences, the languages, which of course we know we're falling behind in our country and have been for quite some time because of all the nonsense that's getting into schools. They're teaching them, they spend more time learning about pronouns than they do about things that really matter. So anyway, that was my topic, one of my topics for today. That Feng Shui does not belong in it doesn't really belong anywhere, to be honest with you, but it certainly doesn't belong in a classroom.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up because, this is a persisting kind of notion, and it feeds into that whole notion of balancing energy. And, this has gained such, an open arm reception within the culture of the day. And unfortunately, even into a lot of our medical settings. And it's important to understand that this is based on superstition. It's not based on any kind of verifiable scientific research or investigation. And if there is any benefit that comes from it, it's really more of a placebo effect or something worse than a placebo effect, It could be the activity of the demonic just trying to pull you in more deeply. And I know people say, oh, come on, you two. But the fact of the matter is, this is the truth. This is the real deal. And we know that to be the case from so many of the individuals that work within deliverance ministry and exorcists. There's not a lot of discrepancy that goes on with exorcists. Typically, it's the exorcist, sharing their strategies for how they work through moments that, call for their particular charism that is theirs by way of the church and given to them by the bishop, by official designation. But, for the most part, on these basics, there's an accord there on these things. We have to pay attention to that.
Absolutely, we do. And I am very distressed. You mentioned earlier in what you were just saying about it getting into hospitals, into the medical community. And one of the reasons that this stuff does get in there, we know Reiki's in there and yoga's in there. One of the reasons it gets in there is not really because the doctors know that think that the stuff works. They know that it doesn't work.
Right.
It's in there because it's basically MBAs who are running hospitals. And that's what the consumer wants. They want alternatives. So they bring this nonsense stuff into hospitals. But unfortunately, what happens with that is most people don't know that. And they think, oh, it's in this hospital. It's in the Mayo Clinic. This must be really good if it's in the Mayo Clinic. And it's like, well, no. The Mayo Clinic knows it doesn't work. They're bringing it in there because you're asking for this kind of thing. That's what the consumer wants. So got to be really careful with what you see in hospitals. We already know to be careful because they're always recommending things like, birth control and abortion and things like that. But also you need to look at these other areas too, because hospitals are very involved in promoting alternatives.
Yeah, and I think that it's really good that you mentioned that, what do I want to say? Hospitals today have become corporate structures, right? So the physicians, et cetera, these people work for the corporate structure. And the corporate structure is concerned, unfortunately, with the bottom line. That is not to say that they're not concerned about healthcare, but healthcare is their business. Healthcare workers primarily in the past have entered into healthcare because it was a vocation, right? It was a calling. They had been given a gift and talent by the Lord, and they were led through their own goodwill, but also, more importantly, through the virtue of charity to be of assistance and help to people. But more and more, as these hospitals have become purchased by major corporations, the individuals, have become part of the corporate structure. And so medicine in so many ways has become a product. And so part of that product, in many cases, is exactly what you're talking about here. It is the alternatives that are there. And, and so oftentimes, unfortunately, we'll have doctors recommending these things. But it's part of the corporate mindset. And it's, and I'm not faulting the doctors. I don't want anybody to hear me faulting the doctors. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that when you're in the soup, then you're rubbing up against the vegetables and the chunks of meat, and the spices.
Somebody's hungry, I think.
Hey, I am hungry now that you mention it. but my point
we
is
are
that
now too.
But it is a kind of osmosis, which is why I tell us all of the time we are all scathed to some extent by the air that we breathe. And here I'm talking about the cultural air that we breathe. We always have to be checking ourselves because, the evil one, he is so clever. He is so clever. And he'll just slip in. There'll be a temptation here, a temptation there. And those temptations are going to come when we're the most vulnerable. When we're the most vulnerable, there's going to be a little temptation. So we have to be careful, and we've got to constantly be checking ourselves. It used to be that doctors were their own people, it was their own practice, but that's not the common way today. It exists, but it's not the common way. Well, there's that music again. It always comes. I don't know what to say about that. As we're going to the break, though, I want to give congratulations going out to our great EWTN radio partner, Our Lady of Perpetual Help Radio, serving Essex Junction, Vermont. They're celebrating 7 years with EWTN. 7 is a biblical number. It means the number of perfection. So Our Lady of Perpetual Help Radio in Essex Junction, Vermont. Congratulations to you, Donna McSorley, and our great team at WRXJ. We all want to wish you that. All of your friends here at EWTN. God bless you. Coming back to Claire and Karina. We want to hear from you, 833-288-EWTN.
Hi, this is Father Mike Schmitz. Please join me for Ascension's Bible in a Year and Catechism in a Year here on EWTN Radio. We're going through the entire Bible and the Catechism in 365 days. If you've ever wanted to understand what it means to be Catholic and allow those truths to shape your life, this is for you.
Bible in a Year and Catechism in a Year with Father Mike Schmitz, tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on EWTN Radio.
Sisters in Christ, have you considered continuing your education? Now you can obtain a certification in Catholic women's leadership through the Benedicta Institute for Women. Our upcoming fall week-long immersive course, The Dignity of Dust, Contemplating Our Humanity, begins October 14th at St. Bernard Abbey in Coleman, Alabama. In order to know how to act, we first must know who we are. Doing follows being. This course asks the question, who is the human being? Dr. Donald Wallenfang, professor of theology and philosophy and our academic advisor, will lead us through this engaging course as we explore the writings of St. Teresa Benedicta of the Cross and Carol Hauslander. To learn more about the Benedicta Institute and to register for this fall course, visit us at benedictainstitute.com or call 800-558-5452. Consider earning a certification or come for your own spiritual growth.
If you have the MyTuner app, you can listen to EWTN Radio's live stream. Open the MyTuner app and search EWTN.
Matt Swaim here. Tomorrow on the Sunrise Morning Show, we'll talk Bible foods with Rita Heichenfeld and get you all the latest news, weather, sports, and a whole lot more. Now back to Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
The Women of Grace phone lines are open. 1-833-288-EWTN. 1-833-288-3986.
Welcome back, friends. You're listening to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams here today with Sue Brinkman. Sue Brinkman, as you well know, is our researcher on the New Age. All of her work that she has done for us is up there on our website. She has books on the New Age that are available for you out there at EWTN's religious catalog. Just go to EWTNRC.com. Put Sue's name in there. Put Susan Brinkman with 2 N's on the end. MANN, and her books will come up for you. She's got a compendium on the New Age that every home should have. I mean, really and truly, if you want to, a fast reference that's going to give you very good information about a variety of things from A to Z having to do with the New Age, that compendium is very, very good for you. Learn to discern, is it Christian or New Age compendium, available for you at EWTNRC.com. Also invite you to use our website for additional research. The articles that Sue has written for us are there in the New Age blog, as well as podcasts that she's done for us in her podcast that is there in our library area called Grace Under Fire, Exposing the Darkness. Well, we have been talking about some strange things today, but it just never ceases to get even stranger. Claire has been with us since the beginning. We're going to get to Claire, then we're going to go to a text message here from Karina. So stay with us, Karina. We're going to get to your question shortly. We want to hear from you, too. The phone lines are open for you, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. You can also use EWTN Radio's YouTube channel to leave your question for us in the chat feature, or you can text your question as Karina has done. Text the letters EWTN to 58177. Wait for our response. Put in your question or comment, where it is that you're calling from, and how it is that you're listening to us today. That'd be great to know, too. And know that message and data rates may apply. Well, so let's get to Claire. She is a very patient woman. She is in the Southwest. She is with us via the EWTN app. Claire, thank you for calling today. What's going on?
Hi, good morning, Johnnette and Sue.
Good morning.
I love you guys so much.
We love you right
back,
Claire.
Can you hear
me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The first question, I have 2 questions, and one of them is I can just ask it very simply, and, it probably shouldn't be too hard to answer. The second is a little bit more difficult. But the first one is, what is the Catholic teaching about negative self-fulfilling prophecies? Is that like a New Age thing that we're not supposed to believe, or is it to some extent we are? That's the first.
Okay. Well, if I can say this, I often talk about negative self-talk. And negative self-talk can have a deleterious effect on us. And the reason why it can is because the more that we repeat negative self-talk, or the more that we brood, not think about, in a way that we're striving to come to terms with something or to receive God's grace in an area of our life where we've had some difficulties and struggles or hurts, wounds, etc. But when we brood over those things, we're actually creating neural pathways in the brain, and we begin to set ourselves up for depression. We begin to set ourselves up for, an unhealthy perspective of ourselves and the world in which we live, and really an unhealthy perspective of others. So that can be quite compromising. And that's really just brain science that's been there. The other thing on a spiritual side of negative self-talk is the fact that when we actually engage in speaking poorly about ourselves, whether we're thinking the thoughts or saying them out loud, but especially if we're saying them out loud, because now we're using more senses. It's not just in our thought process. We're using our voice. We're proclaiming it out into the atmosphere, etc. We can be cursing ourselves, and the devil is actually using our tongue to curse us. And that's bad. We are not to do that kind of a thing. So we want to correct that. But I think you're talking about more along the lines of the law of attraction, Sue, right?
I was thinking about that because, as far as psychology is concerned, the self-fulfilling prophecies, that occurs really when your expectations or your beliefs about a certain situation actually cause it to happen. And it's not in itself. The thought isn't what's causing it to happen. The thought is influencing your behaviors, and your behaviors are then, they're influencing actions that are going to cause these things to happen. The law of attraction takes it much further than that. It believes that there's some sort of energy involved in that negative thought. And that energy, you're putting that out into the universe when you think that, and the negativity comes back at you from the universe, and that's why these bad things are happening to you, because you're thinking negatively about yourself or about some certain situation. So that's really giving the power to the negative thoughts, rather than your just negative thoughts influencing your actions. That would be more like a normal psychological function of that. But if you're really thinking that your negative thoughts are making it happen, they're only making it happen through influencing your behavior. They're not making it happen on their own. They can't do that. A thought can't do that. It doesn't have that kind of power. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah, and that's really what we're doing is we're investing in occultism. It's an occult thought. Or an occult, I'm going to use this word, and I'm not even sure that it deserves to use this word, but it's an occult philosophy. It's an occult system of thinking. That, occult, if you look up the definition, Claire, of occult is an attempt to control the powers of the universe. And so when we are engaged, when we believe that if we think positive thoughts, we're going to attract positive things, or if we think negative thoughts, we're going to attract negative things, is not true, because that's investing a power in the universe or in the stars or however we're perceiving that doesn't exist. And so, we are actually participating in an attempt to control the elements of the universe, to put ourselves in control, which is really, a sin against the first commandment. We're trying to be God in that way. But the psychological reality is something that does exist. As a matter of fact, Sue, I was reading many years ago, I was reading something that talks about people will set themselves up. So if we have a negative self-concept and we nurture that negative self-concept, right, then we actually set ourselves up, subconsciously set ourselves up for rejection. We set ourselves up for abuse. And I'm not talking about physical abuse, but sometimes, because we see how that plays out in the lives of individuals that will stay in relationships that are abusive on any level, sexual, emotional, psychological, spiritual, or even physical. People will keep returning to it. So there is something there with that, but it's not in the sense of the occultic worldview. Does that help you, Claire?
Yes, it does. And I kind of had it was something that comes across in like stuff that I read, and I'd never heard it before. So I didn't know if it was like something new agey or whatever. I mean, I don't want to believe in that. I just didn't understand what it was.
Yeah.
But if do I have time to ask the second question?
Sure.
Okay, because what you just said at the end kind of leads into this other question. Is it wrong or a sin for a person that you once in the past were friends with and you shared a vulnerability with them, for them later on to keep using it against you? It has to do with someone that I used to be friends with, and I shared a vulnerability about a person that I was having, that a person in my life, the feelings, the emotions, and I shared it with this person. A while later after that, we had a disagreement, and I know now that person was completely unhealthy, because they just cut me off. We had been friends for decades, and they just made they just didn't make any attempt to fix the relationship or anything. They just, pretty much just cut it off. But the thing of it is, they then sort of like teamed up with the person that I had shared the vulnerability about, and they both seem to just like, they do things that seem to use it against me. I don't know how else to put it, Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and so I strongly suspect, I don't like to throw this term around, but I mean, I've studied a lot about it, and I strongly suspect narcissistic patterns in the both of them. But it gets very confusing because the person I shared the vulnerability with, puts themselves out there as being Christian, but I have not felt, Christian love from that person.
Yeah.
So I shared the vulnerabilities with them, and now they're, friends with the person, that I was having an issue with. And they're both, it just feels like they both, know private things and they're using it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Private feelings and emotions. So would that be considered a sin, or is it?
Well, it's not.
For
It's
the
not a
person
sin.
to be doing that.
Well, it's not a sin on your part. We have to be very, very prudent with whom we share stuff. I mean, I once watched a show, and it was a show set in older times, and one of the friends advised the other friends, keep your own counsel. Sometimes we're better off just keeping our own counsel, and we work that out, with a good priest, or we work it out with a spiritual director. But we have to be very, very careful who we share deep-seated thoughts with and vulnerabilities with, because people can be very mean. So, if there's a calumny that's going on, if they're lying about you, or even if they're, sharing information that might be true with other people, or if they're using your vulnerabilities against you, that's sinful behavior, I would say. Sue, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. That's sinful behavior. And boy, I really relate to this, Claire, because I've had a similar thing happen to me in my life with someone with narcissistic qualities too. And that person really tried to do a lot of damage to me and my work, tried to do damage to my work as well. And what I learned in that, Claire, is that you're not going to win. You'll never win with that personality. No matter what you do or say, you will not be redeemed. And these two are sharing this together now. So as Johnnette's saying, you've been calumnied by these people.
It's collusion.
Collusion, right? Just let them go off in there and just have nothing further to do with them.
That's right.
There's nothing you're going to say that will change their mind. If that is truly a narcissistic personality, you will not be able to change their mind. They are going to do this because they want to be able to manipulate you. That gives them a sense of power. And that's what that personality thrives on. Is that sense that they have power over a person. They're trying to get power over you by using these vulnerabilities against you. And the worst thing that you can do to a narcissist is to laugh at them and not take them. They can't handle that. They don't know how to handle that because they want to have power over you. My advice to you, having gone through something, I don't know exactly like yours, but just turn around and walk away. Don't have
That's the
anything
best
further
thing.
to do with them. Yep.
Yeah,
Cut 'em off.
and that's exactly right. And just two other little things on this. Oftentimes, people behave that way. And let me just say this: this is just an interesting fact too. Oftentimes, people will behave this way because they're really insecure. And my mom used to say to me, "Well, the reason why they're saying that about that is because they're jealous of you, or they're this, or they're that." And there sometimes is that. But what is at the base of that is a deep-seated insecurity, and the only way in which they can feel better is by in some way tearing somebody else down or to exert that kind of power over somebody, and then somehow in their own mind that makes them feel as though they have a step up, and somehow it pulls them and puts them on a higher level, and that's so it can be coming from that, in which case you might pray for them. Jesus says to pray for our persecutors, right? So praying for them is one way for you to be able to be strong in the midst of this. And then also this, as you were talking, I was thinking, isn't this exactly what happened to our Lord? I mean, wasn't he calumniated? Wasn't he falsely accused? Wasn't he? Didn't people take his openness and charity of heart, which we could call a vulnerability in the sense of being fully, completely human, being totally present to someone? Didn't they take that and use that against him? So you can use this to great spiritual advantage for yourself. By taking the angst that you feel about this, the sickness in the pit of your stomach that you feel over this, and all of that stuff, and attaching it to the sufferings of Christ, and to offer that to him as a prayer for these people. Because who knows, this prayer that you offer that comes right from the heart of their own miserable condition and the misery that they're causing you might be the very thing that opens heaven's doors to them, because that's what Jesus did. And it opened heaven's door for all of us, right? The gates of heaven were opened by way of his taking on, taking all of the misery that we inflicted, including his physical suffering, and offering it to the Father on our behalf. So, this can be a very big step for you in your spiritual life if you appropriate the grace that's available to you in this moment.
Yes, I have been doing that for years now. I've been praying every day for them. The thing of it is, I want to be clear because I want to be truthful. I don't know, I can't tell you exactly what happened, but I don't know if I could call it calumny like you're saying, but I think it's been so hard on me because at the time I shared the vulnerability, it was when I considered the person a close friend.
Yes,
and
you were
it was
betrayed.
The vulnerability had to do with, I don't even know if you could call it a venial sin. They were just like, things that I was struggling with.
Yes.
And
Claire,
so
you know what?
I've often just thought, well, am I going through this pain because God wants me to go through this, like what they're doing, because it was something like a,
yeah,
like,
I get it.
You question yourself.
Yeah, I understand. And we can get ourselves all twisted up in that kind of thinking. This is what I do know. God's permitted it. And if God's permitted something, it's because there's a grace in it, right? And so even if if this was in some way a weakness or an imperfection or a sinfulness, suffering this pain for that, this grieving process that you're going through over this betrayal and all of that stuff, can be, you can offer it as a form of reparation for any sin that you might have committed, or any, you can offer it to the Lord to strengthen you in an area of weakness. But don't let the evil one drag you back into that mess. The fact that he wants to tie you up in knots on this. And if he does, then his work through these two people will be successful. So, you just praise and thank the Lord. Praise you, Jesus, that you give me this opportunity to unite the suffering to your cross. I offer this to you in reparation for any sin I could have committed or for any imperfection that needs to be healed. I offer it on behalf of these people that are making me so miserable. And I repent, reject, and renounce any work of the enemy in this or any collaboration that I've had. So that's what I would do, honey. So just see how that works for you. Find a good spiritual director or a good confessor and sort it out with him. He will help you. He will help you to walk the walk and to achieve what it is that God wants for you to achieve out of this mess. We all have these things, don't we, Sue? I mean, there's not one of us, I think, listening today that has not experienced such a matter.
That's right. That's right. And we just stay with the Lord. He's with you. He's carrying you through all of this. And like you said, Johnnette, he went through the same thing. Look at how he was betrayed. And betrayal is a very difficult thing to accept. And I think that your advice is just spot on, is to go to a priest, sit down with them, let them help you to walk your way through it. And like I had said earlier, cut yourself off from these people. You don't need them in your life anymore. Just get away from them. Hopefully you're in a position where you can get away from them, like they're not in a class you're taking or something. But, I would just do that for yourself. Do that for yourself. Just get away from them and keep up with that prayer. But I'll tell you what, Claire, you're really on top of it by saying that prayer. That's really Jesus he sees that and is so proud of you for doing that.
Yes,
that is
absolutely.
Yeah, that you're praying for her in spite of the way she's treating you, because that's truly Christian. That is truly Christian thing to do.
And it will bring healing to you, Claire. We're going to have to leave it there, sweetheart, because I think that we need to get to Karina. She's been holding a long time, too. Karina texted us this. Have you heard of people wearing vials of blood around their neck like a pendant? Sue?
Yes, I have. And I'm going to write a big blog about it because I was so excited. I'm the only person I know who gets excited about things that I don't know about. And I think, oh, I get to find this. Blood jewelry. Blood jewelry is a real thing. That's what it's called. It's called blood jewelry. And that's where you carry the blood of your loved one around with you, because it supposedly represents a very magical bond between your souls, is to wear one another's blood.
Oh, dear.
And I have seen now websites that show you how to get the blood, what kind of anticoagulants to put with the blood and all that kind of stuff. This is very serious. You can also use the same methods for storing their ashes if you want to store their ashes. So this is something that's, based on magic. It's a trend. It's superstition number one. It doesn't connect you or bond you with anybody. It's just their blood. And I would not have anything to do with it, really. They like to say, oh, yeah, Billy Bob Thornton and Angelina Jolie, they did that back in the 90s, and Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly. But it's like, well, do we really want to have to, emulate people like that? I don't. But anyway, really, that's what blood jewelry is. And it's a real thing. It's blood jewelry. And I thank you so much for writing and asking about it, because I bet you a lot of people listening right now have never heard of it before.
Yeah.
People do that. They actually pierce their finger and fill a vial with the blood.
It's disgusting. Well, listen, don't you remember as children, I don't know if this went on in your neighborhood, but they would talk about becoming blood brothers and blood sisters. Do you remember all that? Yeah.
Yeah, we used to do that. Stuff. Yeah. Yeah, we used to scratch our little fingers and then press the fingers together. Now we're blood sisters forever. Yeah, we used to do the same thing. But this is taking a little step further, don't you think, Johnnette? I mean, putting it in the vial.
This is disgusting. and that was disgusting, too. That was done out of childish foolishness, but this is done out of a real intentionality, which I think is, we got to examine what we're doing here, folks. I mean, honestly, whoever thought we would be living in a day and time like this? Certainly not me. Well, Sue, once again, quite a good program. I thank you so much for being with us every Wednesday, friends, Monday through Friday. And she's with you every day via her blogs and everything else that's out there on our website. So I encourage you to get out there to womenofgrace.com and get to EWTNRC.com and purchase Sue's books. You're going to find them to be immensely helpful and immensely beneficial. Sue is a very gifted writer, so I really encourage you to check all of that out at EWTNRC.com. We appreciate being with you Monday through Friday at this same time on this same station, discussing issues of importance to your life and your faith. We're going to be back with you again tomorrow. God bless you now. Bye-bye.
Another great podcast on EWTN